Bridget Chapman from Kent, the Kent Refugee Action Network. That's, in fact, it's more similar to our situation in Penally. I'm sure Bridget will tell you all about it. So over to Bridget, please.
Hi. Thank you for the introduction, Patrick. So I'm speaking to you from Folkestone in Kent. I'm the spokesperson for Kent Refugee Action Network. So we've been going for 17 years. We're a registered charity. We have three main ways of working with our client group, who are, up until recently, have been people that have arrived in Kent as unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, because until this year, anybody arriving in Kent as an unaccompanied asylum-seeking child stayed in Kent. Kent was the authority responsible for looking after them. And adults and families with children, we didn't get to meet them. They were moved very quickly out of Kent and usually sent to the north of England, towns like Wakefield, Bradford, and similar places like that, where companies like Mears and Serco have contracts to house them in pretty shoddy accommodation, but marginally better than the ex-army camps that we've got in Penally and in Folkestone. In August, Kent County Council announced that they had reached capacity for looking after unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, so they are now being transferred to different parts of the country, and we've pivoted in Kent, and because we now have adults arriving to be accommodated in the camp in Folkestone. The camp in Folkestone has around 420 residents. From the video that I just saw of Penally Camp, the situation inside the buildings in Folkestone looks marginally better, but not much. We are seeing more than 20 people sharing a room. It is not COVID secure. There are very flimsy sort of partitions between beds, but the air can freely circulate. And as we know, COVID can circulate through aerosol particles. So we don't think that the barracks are COVID secure. For me, I've got a serious issue with housing traumatized people in military facilities, because I think if you've escaped war and persecution, being put into a military camp surrounded by barbed wire is bound to be deeply traumatic. But I think it's a deliberate act by the government. I think it's part of the hostile environment. I think that they could free up accommodation if they needed to, but it suits them to have people in these unsuitable facilities because they want to send a message to people to say that they're not welcome here, but they are welcome here. And to any trolls on this call today, I want to look you in the eye and say, they are welcome here. You are not welcome here. The problem is not them. The problem is people with a complete lack of empathy. These people are going to contribute to our society in myriad ways. I don't care about how people contribute economically. I don't think people should be valued on their economic contribution. But I can tell you from my extensive work working with the refugee community that these people will all go on to contribute to our society in myriad ways and will achieve far more than you ever will. So I think you need to think on that. We had a few trolls ourselves here in Folkestone when we got our new residents, and they were very keen to go to the press and be on social media telling everybody that would listen that the people at the camp weren't welcome in Folkestone, that the residents of Folkestone didn't want them. Now, I'm a resident of Folkestone and I'm very happy that they're here. But it's not just my voice that counts. We knew that the trolls and the racists were wrong in what they said, because we at CRAN could not cope with the influx of messages we got of people offering support. People were contacting us via Instagram, via Twitter, via Facebook. They were emailing us, they were texting me on my personal number, and they were asking what they could do. So we knew that that narrative that was being perpetuated wasn't a true reflection of what the local population felt. And in the end, what we felt we had to do, difficult as it was during a pandemic, was we had to gather people in a physical show of support for the people in the barracks. And we reached out to every community group that we could think of. We reached out to the local mosque, to all of the local churches, to the local Nepalese community. We went everywhere. And on October the 17th, we had the most fantastic event at the barracks. The council did everything they could to stop it. They told us that we needed written permission from the barracks, that we needed public liability insurance, that we needed an event management plan. There were all sorts of things that when I checked with the organisation Netpol, who specialise in allowing events like this to go ahead, they said, no, you do need to do a risk assessment, but that's all you need to do. And against a lot of pushback from the council, we went ahead with the event. We ended up with between 300 and 400 people turning up. It was fantastic. There was a party atmosphere.
Looking at aerial footage of the event, there wasn't 300 to 400 people. There was probably around 100. There was no social distancing. I don't know how she got away with not getting a fine for it. If decent people had organised the demo, someone would have been fined over it. Then just 2 weeks after this event, she took to Twitter complaining that the government were taking too long in taking decent people into lockdown. She couldn't abide by the rules as they were, but was keen for the government to impose further sanctions on ordinary folk.